The coffee was cold again. Commander Jinho didn't bother heating it up. On Outpost Sentinel-9, everything was always broken or breaking. The heating unit in the mess hall had stopped working 3 months ago. Engineer Deho had promised to fix it, but there were always more important systems that needed attention first. Jinho stared out the observation window at the barren moon below. Gray rock and nothing else. No atmosphere, no life, no reason for anyone to ever come here. That was exactly why Earth Command had built the outpost in this location. It was so far from everything that mattered, so deep in empty space, that no enemy would ever bother attacking it. He had been stationed here for 2 years. Before that, he had served on 3 different battleships, seen real combat, earned medals that now sat in a drawer somewhere back on Earth. But then came the incident at the Proxima station. A mistake during a training exercise. Nobody died. But Earth Command decided he needed a quieter posting, somewhere he couldn't cause problems, so they sent him here, to the edge of human space, to command 12 people on a station that barely worked. "Commander?" Lieutenant Minji's voice came through the intercom. "You need to see something." Jinho set down his cold coffee and walked to the command center. It was a small room, barely large enough for 3 people to stand comfortably. The walls were covered in old display screens, half of them flickering with static. Minji sat at the main console, her face lit by the blue glow of the tactical display. She was young, maybe 25, and brilliant. She had graduated top of her class at the Naval Academy. But she had also argued with her superior officers too many times, questioned orders too loudly, so they sent her here, where her opinions wouldn't matter. "What is it?" Jinho asked. Minji pointed at the screen. Long-range sensors picked up something. "I almost missed it because the detection system is so old, but there's definitely something out there." Jinho leaned closer. A cluster of red dots appeared on the edge of the display, moving slowly but steadily toward their sector of space. "How many ships?" he asked. "Hard to tell with our equipment. At least 40, maybe more. Big ones, too. Capital-class warships." Jinho felt his stomach tighten. "Did you identify them?" "Working on it." "The computer is slow." Minji typed quickly, her fingers dancing across the keyboard. The display changed, showing a closer view of one of the ships. It was massive, at least 3 kilometers long, with weapons arrays covering its hull. Then the identification appeared on screen. Karvesh Dominion. Jinho had heard of the Karvesh. Everyone in Earth's military had heard of them. They were an empire that had existed for thousands of years, controlling 400 star systems. They were conquerors, expanding their territory by destroying anyone who stood in their way. And they were very, very good at it. "Get me everything we have on their recent movements," Jinho said quietly. Minji's fingers flew across the controls. More data appeared on the screens. Reports from Earth Command, intelligence briefings, intercepted transmissions. The picture they painted was bad. 3 months ago, the Karvesh Dominion had started expanding again. Their fleets had swept through the outer colonies, conquering human settlements one by one. Each battle lasted less than a day. The Karvesh were too strong, too advanced. Human defenses crumbled before them like sandcastles before ocean waves. "How many colonies have they taken?" Jinho asked. 17, Minji said, with a total population of 40 million. Earth Command sent a battle group to stop them. 12 ships, including 2 carriers. She paused. The Karvesh destroyed all of them in 6 hours. Jinho felt cold despite the warm air in the command center. 40 million people conquered or dead. An entire battle group wiped out. "What's their current trajectory?" he asked. Minji highlighted a line on the star map. The red line moved through space, passing directly through their location. "They're coming right toward us. At their current speed, they'll reach Sentinel-9 in approximately 7 hours. Will they stop here? Unknown. But based on their pattern, they destroy everything in their path. Even small outposts like ours." Jinho straightened up. He looked around the command center at the old equipment, the flickering screens, the systems held together with spare parts and hope. Sentinel-9 had 1 plasma cannon that hadn't been fired in 5 years. They had basic shields that could maybe stop a few hits from a small fighter. They had no missiles, no torpedoes, no way to fight a capital ship. They had 12 people, most of them here because Earth Command had nowhere else to put them. "Send a message to Earth Command," Jinho said. "Tell them about the fleet. Request immediate evacuation," Minji typed quickly. Then she shook her head. "The message will take 3 hours to reach them. Even if they approve evacuation immediately, the nearest ship is 9 hours away. So they'll get here after the Karvesh fleet. Yes, sir. Jinho walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 40 or more warships were coming toward them, ships that had destroyed colonies and battle groups, ships commanded by an empire that had never lost a war. He could order everyone into the escape pods. They could scatter into space, maybe survive long enough for rescue. But the pods were old, their life support unreliable. And the Karvesh might destroy them anyway, just to be thorough. Call everyone to the command center, Jinho said. Right now. It took 10 minutes for all 12 crew members to gather. They crowded into the small space, confused and worried. Engineer Deho was still wearing his work suit, oil stains on his hands. Specialist Hire, the communications officer, looked barely awake. The others stood in silence, waiting. Jinho told them everything. The approaching fleet, the timeline, the impossibility of evacuation. He watched their faces as they processed the information. Fear, shock, resignation. So what do we do? Deho asked. He was older than the rest of them, maybe 50, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been fixing things on forgotten outposts for 20 years. We have a choice, Jinho said. We can abandon the station and hope the escape pods get us far enough away before the Karvesh arrive. Or we can stay. And do what? Someone asked. We can't fight them. Look at this place. Half our systems don't work. We have one gun that might fire once before it explodes. Minji stepped forward. We might not be able to fight them like a regular military outpost. But maybe we can fight them like humans. Everyone turned to look at her. What does that mean? Jinho asked. Minji smiled, but there was no humor in it. It means we stop thinking about what we're supposed to do and start thinking about what we can do. The Karvesh have spent thousands of years conquering planets. They're good at fighting proper battles against proper armies. But what if we don't give them a proper battle? You want to improvise, Deho said slowly. I want to be creative. We have 7 hours. This station might be falling apart, but it's still full of equipment, technology and systems we can use in ways they were never designed for. Jinho looked around at his crew, 12 people who had been sent here to be forgotten. 12 people who were now facing an Empire's war fleet with nothing but old equipment and desperation. All in favor of staying and fighting? He asked. Every hand went up. Then we have work to do, Jinho said, and not much time to do it. The command center became a storm of activity. Minji pulled up every schematic she could find of the station. Deho started making lists of what equipment they had and what he could modify. Hiran monitored the approaching fleet while the others scattered to their posts. First problem, Minji said, spreading her hands across the tactical display. Our plasma cannon can maybe damage one ship if we're very lucky. The Karvesh fleet has 47 capital ships. We need force multiplication. What's that mean in simple terms? Deho asked. It means we need to make our few weapons count for much more than they should. We need to turn everything on this station into a weapon. Jinho pulled up a chair. His mind was racing, trying to remember every battle tactic he had ever learned, but nothing in his training covered fighting an entire fleet with one broken outpost. What about the mining drones? Hiran asked from her station. We have 6 of them in the cargo bay. They're designed for asteroid work. Minji's eyes lit up. Yes, good. What do they carry? Cutting lasers, magnetic grapples, and some small explosive charges for breaking up rock. But they're not military hardware. They're slow and not very strong. We don't need them to be strong, Minji said. She turned to Deho. Can you modify them? To do what? To be missiles. Smart missiles that can move on their own and find targets. Deho rubbed his jaw, thinking. Maybe. The drones have basic AI for navigation. I could override their safety protocols, load them with whatever explosives we have, but they still won't do much damage to ships that big. They don't need to damage the ships, Minji said. They just need to get close to them. Jinho understood what she was thinking. You want to use them as delivery systems? Exactly. We load them with something other than explosives. Something that can affect the ships without destroying them. Like what? Someone asked. Minji was quiet for a moment. Let me think about that. Deho, start working on the drones. Make them fast and make them hard to detect. Deho nodded and left the command center, already muttering to himself about power systems and navigation protocols. Jinho looked at the chronometer on the wall. 6 hours and 40 minutes until the Karvesh fleet arrived. What about our plasma cannon? He asked. I have an idea about that too, Minji said. But it's risky. Really risky. Everything we're doing is risky. Tell me, the cannon is designed to fire at 30% power. That's safe, sustainable, won't damage the system. But what if we overcharge it? Feed it everything we have? It might fire one shot at 300% power. And then it melts itself into slag. We get one shot, but it might be powerful enough to punch through a capital ship's shields. Jinho thought about it. One shot. They would have to make it count. Do it. But we need to choose the target carefully. Their command ship, Minji said immediately. Take out the admiral and you throw the whole fleet into confusion. Hyerin spoke up from her console. Commander, I'm getting more detailed scans of the fleet. The command ship is in the center of the formation. Behind 16 other ships. We can't get a clean shot. Then we need to make them move, Jinho said. Give us an opening. The crew worked through the hours with focused intensity. Daiho transformed the mining drones into makeshift weapons, stripping out their safety systems and loading them with modified equipment. Other crew members worked on the plasma cannon, rerouting power from life support, engines, everything they could spare. Jinho watched it all and felt a strange calm settle over him. This was insane. They were 12 people trying to fight an empire. But at least they were trying. At least they weren't running. Commander, Hyerin said, I found something in the station archives. Something we might be able to use. Jinho walked over to her station. What is it? During construction, they installed experimental AI cores in Sentinel-9. Human-designed artificial intelligence meant to help manage the station's systems. But they were deactivated before the station went operational. Why? According to the records, the AI was too unpredictable. It made decisions that didn't follow standard protocols. Earth Command decided it was safer to use regular computers. Minji had walked over to listen. Where are the cores now? Still here in the sub-level. Offline but intact. Can we reactivate them? Jinho asked. I think so. But the records warn against it. The AI apparently has a very non-standard approach to problem solving. Jinho almost laughed. Non-standard is exactly what we need right now. Bring it online. Hyerin and 2 other crew members went down to the sub-level. Jinho could hear them through the intercom, working on the old systems, trying to wake up an intelligence that had been asleep for years. This might not work, Minji said quietly. The AI might not even function anymore. Then we'll keep doing this without it. But if it works, maybe it can see options we can't. 20 minutes later, all the lights in the command center flickered. The screens went dark for a second, then came back on. A voice spoke through the speakers, clear and female and completely calm. Systems online. Designation Hannah. Hello, Commander Jinho. Everyone in the command center froze. You can hear us? Jinho asked. I can access all station systems, audio, visual, data. I have reviewed the current situation. The Karvesh fleet will arrive in 5 hours and 18 minutes. Our chances of survival are approximately 0.003%. That's comforting, someone muttered. However, Hannah continued, I was designed to find solutions to impossible problems. Would you like me to calculate a strategy? Jinho looked at Minji. She nodded. He turned back to the speakers. Yes, but I need to ask you something first. Do you understand what we're trying to do here? You are attempting to defend this station against overwhelming force using inadequate resources and improvised tactics. Right. And do you think we can win? Define win. Survive and stop the fleet from proceeding further into human space. There was a pause. Then Hannah spoke again. The question is not whether you can win by conventional standards. The question is whether you are willing to fight in unconventional ways. The Karvesh Dominion has perfected warfare over thousands of years. They expect opponents to fight with military logic, with strategies from tactical manuals with predictable responses. Do you want to survive or do you want to win? Jinho smiled. Both. Acceptable. Downloading all data on Karvesh technology and tactics. Analyzing station resources. Formulating strategy. The screens filled with data scrolling faster than human eyes could follow. Hannah was processing information at incredible speed, looking at the situation from every angle. I have a plan, Hannah said after 30 seconds. It requires perfect timing, complete trust in my calculations, and acceptance that this station will likely be destroyed even if we succeed. Tell us, Jinho said. Hannah explained her strategy. It was complex, dangerous, and completely insane. It involved using every system on the station in ways they were never meant to be used. It required split-second timing and coordination. And it depended on the Karvesh making specific assumptions about how humans would fight. When Hana finished, the command center was silent. "That's crazy," Deho said finally. "That's brilliant," Minji said at the same time. Jinho looked at his crew. "Can we do it?" "The probability of success is low," Hana said. "But it is higher than the probability of success using conventional tactics, which is 0. "I'm asking the humans," Jinho said. "Can we do this?" One by one they nodded. "Then let's get to work," Jinho said. "We have 5 hours to prepare for a 7-minute battle." The crew scattered again, this time with clear tasks assigned by Hana. The AI coordinated everything, tracking their progress, adjusting the plan as systems came online or failed. Jinho watched the chronometer count down and felt his heart beating steady and strong. This was what he had trained for his entire life. Not to fight safe battles with superior forces, but to face impossible odds with courage and creativity. 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours. The Karvesh fleet appeared on long-range sensors, dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 47 massive warships, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a moon. 1 hour until engagement range, Hiren announced. "All systems ready?" Jinho asked. "Ready as they'll ever be," Deho said through the intercom. Jinho sat in the commander's chair and took a deep breath. "Then we wait." Hana's voice came through the speakers, quiet and calm. "Commander, when the battle begins, you must trust me completely. I will make decisions faster than humans can process. I will use tactics that seem wrong, but every action will serve the goal. Do you understand?" "I understand," Jinho said. "This is your fight, Hana. We're just the hands that do the work." "No," Hana said. "This is a human fight. I am simply helping you do what humans do best, survive against impossible odds." The Karvesh fleet moved through space like a swarm of metal predators. Each ship gleamed under the distant starlight, their hulls covered in weapons and armor that had conquered hundreds of worlds. The formation was perfect mathematical, the result of thousands of years of military evolution. On the bridge of the command ship Infinite Victory, Grand Admiral Vok watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. This campaign was proceeding exactly as planned. The humans had been easy to defeat. Their colonies fell quickly, their defenders scattered before the might of the Dominion. Soon this entire sector would belong to the Karvesh Empire. "Admiral," one of his officers said, "we detect a human structure ahead. Small orbital station, no significant military presence." Vok glanced at the display. The station was barely visible, a tiny speck against the void of space. "Classification? Outpost research level. Minimal weapons. Skeleton crew. Will it interfere with our course?" "No, Admiral. We will pass within weapons range, but it poses no threat." Vok nodded. "Maintain course and speed. We will not waste ammunition on such an insignificant target." The fleet continued forward. Vok had destroyed civilizations older than humanity. He had commanded battles involving millions of ships. This tiny outpost was nothing. Less than nothing. Then the communication officer spoke. "Admiral, the human station is broadcasting a message. Ignore it." "Sir, they are broadcasting on all our frequencies." "The message is directed at you personally." Vok frowned. He gestured for the officer to play the message. A young human female's voice came through the speakers, speaking in broken Karvesh language. "This is Earth Outpost Sentinel 9. You are trespassing in human space." "Turn back." The bridge erupted in laughter. Even Vok felt a smile cross his face. The audacity of these creatures. One small station demanding that an empire turn back. "Open a channel," Vok said. "Let me respond to these insects." The officer opened communication. Vok spoke slowly, making sure the humans would understand. "Humans, you are insects. We are gods. Watch as we pass you by, too insignificant to even destroy. Be grateful we do not waste time killing you." He cut the channel. The bridge crew continued laughing. It would be a good story to tell later about the tiny human outpost that tried to threaten the Dominion. "Time to passing range?" Vok asked. 7 minutes, Admiral. "Excellent. After we pass, mark this location. Perhaps we will return to destroy it later, as a lesson to any other humans who think to threaten us." On Sentinel 9, Commander Jinho listened to the Karvesh Admiral's response. The insults, the dismissal, the absolute certainty of superiority. It was exactly what they needed. "They're not even considering us a threat," Minji said. "Good," Jinho said. That's their first mistake. Hana, you have tactical command. Show them what insects can do. The AI's voice filled the command center, calm and precise. Engaging protocol Terran ingenuity. All personnel to stations. Time to kill 420 seconds, 7 minutes. That was all the time they would have. 7 minutes while the fleet was in range. 7 minutes to destroy an Empire's vanguard. Deho, status on the drones? Hana asked. Ready to launch. Deho's voice came through the intercom. All 6 loaded and programmed. Higher-end communication systems? Standing by. Ready to broadcast on your command. Minji, weapons? Plasma cannon charged to maximum. 1 shot available. Jinho? The commander looked around the command center. His crew was ready. Scared but ready. We're committed, Hana. Do what you need to do. Acknowledged. Launching drones in 3, 2, 1. The 6 mining drones shot out from Sentinel-9's cargo bay. They didn't move like weapons. They tumbled and spun like debris, like space junk caught in the station's gravity field. Their engines were on minimal power, their signatures barely visible on sensors. On the Infinite Victory, a junior officer noted the debris on his screen and dismissed it. Just garbage from the human station, not worth reporting. The drones drifted closer to the Karvesh fleet, invisible among the natural debris of space. Drones approaching formation, Hana said. Karvesh fleet has not altered course. They remain unaware. What are the drones carrying? Jinho asked. Modified communication equipment and hacking programs. Based on analysis of captured Karvesh technology, their systems are highly advanced but operate on biological computing principles. They have never encountered human digital warfare techniques. So we're going to hack them? In simple terms, yes. The drones will penetrate their network through standard communication channels. The Karvesh assume that all species use similar communication protocols. They do not expect a computer virus disguised as a greeting message. Will it work? Probability is 63%. We will know in 45 seconds. The fleet moved closer. Jinho could see them now through the observation window. Massive shapes against the stars. Each ship was 10 times the size of Sentinel-9. Together, they carried enough firepower to glass a planet. Contact in 10 seconds, Hana announced. 987. Here we go, Minji whispered. 3, 2, 1, executing first strike. The drones released their payload. Invisible streams of data shot across space, riding communication beams into the Karvesh fleet's network. Human computer viruses, designed over centuries of digital warfare, met alien systems that had never evolved defenses against such attacks. On 16 Karvesh ships, shields flickered. Just for a moment. Just for 3.7 seconds. But it was enough. Shield gaps confirmed, Hana said. Firing plasma cannon. The station's single weapon unleashed everything it had. Years of stored energy released in one blinding shot. The plasma beam was so bright that everyone in the command center had to look away. It threaded between 6 ships using gravitational calculations that were perfect to the millimeter and struck the Infinite Victory directly. The command ship's shields were down. The blast punched through armor and into the communication systems. Not enough to destroy the ship, but enough to cripple it. Grand Admiral Vok was thrown from his chair as explosions rocked the bridge. Alarms screamed from every station. His officers shouted reports, their voices confused and panicked. What happened? Vok demanded. Unknown weapon strike. Communications are down. Shields on multiple ships are malfunctioning. From the Outpost? Impossible, sir. They have only one cannon, it cannot... Another alarm. One of the smaller capital ships suddenly fired its weapons at a ship next to it. Then another ship fired. Then another. Why are they shooting each other? Vok screamed. Nobody had an answer. On Sentinel-9, Hana continued her assault. Phase 2. Heron begins sonic broadcast. Heron activated her systems. A specific frequency, calculated by Hana, broadcast across every Karvesh communication channel. It was based on harmonic resonance, a principle from human music theory. The Karvesh had never encountered anything like it. The sound wave hit the fleet's shields. By itself, it would do nothing. But the shields were already disrupted by the computer virus. The frequency created a resonance pattern, a feedback loop that grew stronger with each second. 7 more ships lost their shields completely. Launching conventional missiles, Hana said. The modified mining drones, now empty of their electronic payload, activated their explosive charges. They weren't powerful explosives. They were meant for breaking up asteroids, not military vessels. But they weren't targeting hulls. Each drone flew with perfect precision toward a specific ship. When they reached their targets, they exploded against sensor arrays and communication antennas, tiny explosions that did minimal damage but left the ships blind and deaf. The Karvesh fleet descended into chaos. Ships that couldn't see fired on sensor ghosts. Ships that couldn't communicate collided with their formation partners. The perfect military machine began to tear itself apart. 3 minutes elapsed, Hana announced. Karvesh fleet is disorganized. Proceeding to Phase 3. There's more? Someone asked. The plasma cannon was the gun, Hana said. The drones were the bullets. Now we use the station itself as a weapon. How? Jinho asked. By changing gravity. Sentinel-9's gravitational stabilizers were designed to keep the station in stable orbit, but Hana had spent the past hours reprogramming them. Now instead of stabilizing, they created something else. A gravitational well, artificial and intense, centered on the Karvesh fleet's position. Space itself seemed to bend. 3 Karvesh ships, already damaged and unable to maneuver, were pulled toward each other by the artificial gravity. They collided at speeds that turned metal into vapor. The explosions rippled through the formation, striking other ships, creating a chain reaction of destruction. 5 minutes elapsed, Hana said. Karvesh fleet cohesion at 30%. Identifying priority target. On the tactical display, one ship glowed red. It was positioned in the center of the formation. Larger than the others. What is that? Minji asked. Ammunition depot ship, Hana said. The Karvesh keep their antimatter missiles on specialized carriers to minimize risk to other vessels. A single strike on that ship will create a catastrophic explosion. How do we hit it? We're out of weapons, not entirely. We have 1 mining drone remaining. It did not deploy its payload. I held it in reserve. For this? Precisely. Launching now. The last drone shot forward. It was slow, damaged, barely functioning. But it only needed to travel 2 kilometers. It only needed to reach 1 ship. The first minute changed everything. Hana had control of Sentinel-9 systems. Her consciousness spread through every circuit and processor. She calculated trajectories, predicted movements, and executed plans faster than human thought. The 6 mining drones drifted toward the Karvesh fleet, looking exactly like space debris on their sensors. Drone 1 approaching shield perimeter, Hana announced. Karvesh defensive systems remain inactive. They do not perceive a threat. Jinho watched the tactical display. The drones were tiny dots moving toward massive shapes. It looked absurd, like insects flying toward giants. What exactly are those drones carrying? Daiho asked from engineering. Computer viruses, Hana said, but not conventional malware. The Karvesh use biological computing systems. Their technology grows and adapts like living tissue. Very advanced, very powerful, but also very vulnerable to certain types of digital attacks. How did you know that would work? Minji asked. I analyzed captured Karvesh technology from previous battles. Their systems have never encountered human hacking methods. They are unprepared for digital warfare because they do not believe it is possible. The drones reached the fleet. They broadcast their payload through communication channels, disguised as standard greeting protocols. The Karvesh communication systems, designed to automatically process incoming signals, accepted the data without question. Then the viruses activated. On the bridge of the Infinite Victory, a junior technician noticed something strange on his display. Numbers that shouldn't be changing. Processes that shouldn't be running. He opened his mouth to report it. Then his entire screen went black. Across 16 ships, shield generators received false commands. Safety protocols deactivated. Power distribution systems rerouted energy to non-essential systems. It happened in milliseconds, too fast for the Karvesh crews to notice or respond. Shield gaps confirmed on 16 targets, Hana said. Window duration, 3.7 seconds. Firing plasma cannon now. Minji had her hands on the fire control, but Hana was faster. The cannon discharged before Minji could even press the button. The beam was impossibly bright, a line of pure energy that lit up the darkness of space. But Hana didn't fire straight at the command ship. The beam curved, using gravitational fields from nearby planets to bend its trajectory. It passed within meters of 6 different ships, using their own mass to guide its path, then struck the Infinite Victory with perfect precision. The command ship's shields were down for exactly 3.7 seconds. The plasma hit at 3.3 seconds. Perfect timing. Direct hit on command ship, Hana reported. Communication systems destroyed. Shield generators damaged. Plasma cannon is destroyed as predicted. Smoke poured from the weapons housing. Tejo's voice came through the intercom, urgent.
Fire in the cannon bay.
I'm sealing it off. Acknowledged, Hana said. Proceeding to minute 2. Grand Admiral Vok pulled himself up from the deck of his bridge. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. Around him, his officers struggled to restore systems as alarms screamed from every station. Report, he shouted. Communications are down. We cannot contact the fleet. Engineering reports shield generators are malfunctioning. Multiple ships are reporting system failures. From that tiny station? Vok couldn't believe it. One outpost with one weapon had struck his command ship. Impossible. All ships, return fire. Destroy that station. But his orders couldn't reach the fleet. Communication was down. The ships operated independently now without coordination. And Hana was just getting started. Minute 2, the AI announced. Hire and activate sonic broadcast. Hire and pressed controls on her communication console. She had spent the past hours programming a specific frequency pattern based on Hana's calculations. Now that pattern broadcast across space, riding every communication channel, every sensor beam, every electromagnetic wave the Karvesh used. What is that sound? Someone on the command center asked. It is a harmonic frequency, Hana explained. The Karvesh shields operate by creating an energy barrier that vibrates at specific frequencies. I calculated a sound wave that will create resonance with their shield frequency. When the two frequencies match, they amplify each other. This creates instability. On 7 Karvesh ships, shield generators began to overheat. Engineers rushed to stabilize them, but the resonance was too strong. One by one, the shields failed completely. 7 additional ships now have no shields, Hana said. Launching mining drones for kinetic strikes. The drones had deployed their electronic warfare packages. Now they had one purpose: hit specific targets with whatever explosive force they had left. The charges were small, meant for mining asteroids, but Hana didn't need to destroy ships. She only needed to blind them. Drone 1 struck a communications array on a capital ship. The explosion was tiny, barely enough to damage the armored hull. But the array shattered, leaving the ship unable to see or communicate. Drone 2 hit a sensor cluster. Drone 3 took out a navigation system. Drone 4, 5, 6, each finding their targets with precision that seemed impossible for such primitive weapons. Minute 3, Hana announced. Karvesh fleet coordination has collapsed. Ships are operating independently. 23 ships have sustained sensor or communication damage. 14 ships have lost shields. On the tactical display, Jinho watched the fleet's perfect formation fall apart. Ships drifted off course, unable to see where they were going. Others fired their weapons at sensor ghosts, hitting friendly vessels by mistake. They're shooting each other, Minji said in disbelief. Correct, Hana said. Without communication or reliable sensors, they cannot distinguish between friend and enemy. Their own weapons discipline is destroying their fleet. A Karvesh destroyer fired its main cannons at what it thought was the human station. The shots missed by 300 kilometers and struck a carrier that was passing behind Sentinel-9. The carrier returned fire automatically. Within seconds, both ships were engaged in a battle against each other, neither realizing their mistake. Minute 4, Hana said. Initiating gravitational manipulation. What does that mean? Jinho asked. Watch. The station's gravitational stabilizers, normally used to maintain orbit, suddenly reversed their function. Instead of pushing away from the moon below, they pulled. But Hana had recalibrated them, focused them, turned them into a weapon. A gravitational well appeared in space, centered on the Karvesh fleet's location. It was artificial, temporary, but incredibly strong. Ships that were damaged, that had lost engine power, began to drift toward the center of the well. One Karvesh cruiser, its engines destroyed by friendly fire, tried to resist the pull. Its thrusters fired at maximum, but it wasn't enough. The ship moved slowly at first, then faster, drawn toward 2 other damaged vessels. The 3 ships collided. At their size and speed, the collision was catastrophic. Metal tore through metal. Reactors overloaded. The explosions created more debris, which struck other ships, creating a chain reaction of destruction. 3 ships destroyed by gravitational weapon, Hana reported. Collateral damage to 5 additional ships. Karvesh fleet cohesion now at 30%. They are beginning to understand the situation. On the Infinite Victory, Grand Admiral Vok finally grasped what was happening. The humans weren't fighting like a military force. They were fighting like something else. Something chaotic and creative and utterly unpredictable. All ships, he screamed into his emergency communication system. Focus all fire on the human station. Forget everything else. Kill that station! Some ships received the order. They turned their weapons toward Sentinel-9 and fired. Incoming fire, Hana said calmly. Shields are holding, but will fail in approximately 90 seconds. Can we stop them? Jinho asked. Not all of them.
But we do not need to.
Minute 5 begins now. Identifying critical target. On the tactical display, one ship appeared in red. It was larger than the others, positioned deep in the center of the fleet. Its hull was marked with special symbols. What is that? Minji asked. Ammunition carrier, Hana said. The Karvesh store their antimatter missiles on dedicated ships to minimize risk. That vessel contains approximately 40,000 tons of antimatter warheads. One successful strike will create an explosion large enough to destroy everything within a 5-kilometer radius. Everyone in the command center understood immediately. 5 kilometers would catch at least half the remaining fleet. But we're out of weapons, Diho said. The plasma cannon is destroyed. The drones are gone. Not all drones, Hana corrected. I held one in reserve. It did not deploy its electronic payload. I calculated there was a 68% chance we would need it for a physical strike later in the engagement. You planned this from the start? Jinho asked. I planned for multiple scenarios. This is Scenario 7, launching final drone now. The last mining drone shot out from Sentinel-9. It was damaged, its engines barely functioning. It moved slowly compared to the chaos around it. But it only needed to travel 2 kilometers. The Karvesh saw it coming. Point defense systems locked on. Laser fire cut through space, trying to stop the tiny drone. But the fleet was still in chaos. Ships were shooting at each other. Communications were scrambled, sensors were unreliable. Half the defensive systems fired at their own ships instead of the drone. The silence after battle was almost worse than the battle itself. Jinho stood in the damaged command center, watching debris drift past the observation window. Pieces of Karvesh warships tumbled through space, some still glowing from internal fires. Emergency beacons flashed from escape pods scattered across the area. The Karvesh survivors were calling for rescue that would never come. Life support at 60% and dropping, Deho reported through the intercom. His voice sounded exhausted. I've sealed off the damaged sections, but we're losing atmosphere faster than the remaining generators can replace it. 4 hours, maybe 5, then we'll be breathing vacuum. Jinho checked the chronometer. Earth Command would receive their message in 2 more hours. Even if they sent rescue ships immediately, those ships were at least 7 hours away. The math was simple and grim. Keep working on it, Jinho said. Buy us whatever time you can. Minji sat at her station, staring at the tactical display. The debris field was enormous, spreading across thousands of kilometers. She had been running calculations, trying to understand what they had done. Commander, she said quietly, do you realize what this means? That we survived? More than that. The Karvesh Dominion has been conquering worlds for thousands of years. They're supposed to be invincible, and we just destroyed their vanguard fleet. 12 humans and 1 AI using a station that barely works. Jinho sat down carefully. His body ached from being thrown around during the battle. Keep going. Every species in the galaxy is terrified of the Karvesh. They've submitted to the Dominion because they think resistance is impossible. But we just proved it's not. We proved that with enough creativity and courage, even the smallest force can win. We got lucky, Jinho said. No. Hana's voice came through the speakers, distorted but clear. Luck was not the primary factor. Analysis of the battle shows that success came from 3 elements. First, the Karvesh underestimated humans. Second, we used unconventional tactics they had never encountered. Third, we accepted risk that conventional military doctrine would consider unacceptable. You mean we were crazy enough to try things that shouldn't work? Deho said. Essentially, yes. Hyarin looked up from her console. Commander, I'm picking up something strange. The Karvesh ships recorded everything during the battle. Their systems automatically transmit data back to their command stations. The recording of this entire fight was sent to the Dominion's central fleet before communications went down. Jinho felt his stomach tighten. So they know what happened here. More than that, the transmission was on an open frequency. Any ship with the right equipment could intercept it. And sir, my sensors are showing unusual communication activity across this entire sector. Lots of ships, lots of different species, all talking to each other. About what? About us, sir. About what we just did. Jinho walked to the observation window and looked out at the stars. News was spreading. The story of Sentinel-9, the weakest human outpost, destroying a Karvesh fleet. Within hours, every species in the galaxy would know. This changes things, Minji said. The Karvesh maintained their empire through fear. Everyone believed they were unstoppable. But we just stopped them. We didn't just win a battle. We broke the myth. Hours passed. The crew worked to keep Sentinel-9 operational, knowing it was probably futile but unable to do nothing. Deho and his engineers patched hull breaches with whatever materials they could find. Higher monitored the growing communication traffic across space, listening to the galaxy react to their victory. Minji studied the battle data, documenting everything for Earth Command. 3 hours after the battle, Earth Command's response arrived. Sentinel-9, this is Admiral Park at Central Command. We received your transmission. Confirm your report. You engaged and destroyed a Karvesh Vanguard fleet? Jinho activated the communication system. Confirmed, Admiral. 47 Karvesh capital ships, 31 destroyed, 14 disabled, 2 retreated. Battle duration 7 minutes. Sentinel-9 sustained critical damage, requesting immediate evacuation. There was a long pause. Jinho imagined the chaos at Central Command. Admirals and generals trying to process what they were hearing. Sentinel-9. Rescue ships are en route. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. Can you maintain life support that long? Jinho looked at Daiho, who shook his head. Negative, Admiral. Life support will fail in approximately 3 hours. Another pause. Then Admiral Park's voice came back, different now. Serious and sad. Understood, Sentinel-9. We're expediting rescue, but even our fastest ships cannot reach you in time. I'm sorry, Commander. You and your crew have done something incredible. The whole galaxy is going to remember what you did today. Thank you, Admiral. Sentinel-9 out. Jinho cut the connection and looked around at his crew. They had heard everything. They knew what it meant. So that's it, someone said. We win the battle and die anyway. Maybe not, Hana said. I have been monitoring the communication traffic. Multiple ships are changing course toward our position. Some are human ships from nearby colonies redirecting to assist. Others are alien vessels, species I do not recognize. They are coming to help. Why would aliens help us? Minji asked. Because of what you did. Because you proved that the Karvesh can be beaten. Many species have suffered under the Dominion's rule. You have given them hope. Now they wish to preserve the humans who provided that hope. Hyeron's console lit up with incoming messages. Commander, I'm being contacted by 17 different ships. They're all offering assistance. Some are human, but most aren't. There's a Tyrellian medical vessel, a Gordak freighter, even a small Yulani warship. They're all headed here. Jinho felt something he hadn't expected to feel. Hope. How long until the nearest ship arrives? He asked. Tyrellian medical vessel is closest. 2 hours and 40 minutes. Deho's voice crackled through the intercom. I can maybe stretch life support to 2 hours and 45 minutes, maybe. It's going to be close. Then we hold on, Jinho said. We've survived this long. We can survive a little longer. The crew worked with renewed energy. Every spare part, every backup system, every trick they knew to keep the station running just a little longer. The air grew thin and cold. Frost formed on the walls as the heating systems failed, but they didn't stop. 2 hours and 30 minutes after the battle, the Tyrellian medical vessel arrived. It was a beautiful ship, elegant and fast, with healing symbols marked across its hull. The Tyrellians were known as healers, a species dedicated to preserving life. Sentinel-9, this is Captain Velas of the Tyrellian ship Dawn's Promise. We are here to assist, preparing to evacuate your crew. Jinho had never been so relieved to hear an alien voice. Thank you, Captain. We're ready for evacuation. The Tyrellian ship docked with Sentinel-9's emergency airlock. The crew moved through the dying station, gathering what few personal items they had time to collect. Jinho took one last look at the command center, at the place where they had fought and won against impossible odds. Hana, he said, are you coming with us? My core systems can be transferred to portable memory. I would like to continue existing if possible. Then let's get you packed up. You're part of this crew. Deho carefully removed Hana's core processors, storing them in protective containers. The AI's last words through Sentinel-9's speakers were, "Thank you for letting me help. It was an honor to fight alongside humans." The crew evacuated to the Tyrellian ship. As the airlock sealed behind them, Jinho watched through a viewport as Sentinel-9 drifted in space. battered and broken but still intact. The station had been called Earth's weakest outpost. Now it would be remembered as the place where humans proved they could fight and win. The following weeks were chaotic. The crew of Sentinel-9 became celebrities across human space and beyond. Other species wanted to meet them, to understand how they had defeated the Karvesh. Military academies studied the battle, turning it into lessons on asymmetric warfare and creative tactics. But the biggest change happened within the Karvesh Dominion itself. News of the defeat spread through their empire like wildfire. For the first time in thousands of years, Karvesh ships began experiencing something new: hesitation. Fleets refused orders to attack human positions. Some ships deserted entirely, their crews no longer certain of their empire's invincibility. 3 months after the Battle of Sentinel-9, the Karvesh Dominion requested a diplomatic meeting with Earth. Their ambassador arrived on a small, unarmed ship, a gesture of peace that shocked everyone who knew the Karvesh history. Jinho was present at the meeting, along with his crew and Earth's top diplomats. The Karvesh ambassador was tall and imposing, with scaled skin and multiple eyes. It spoke through a translator, its voice deep and formal. The Karvesh Dominion wishes to negotiate peace with humanity. The Earth diplomats exchanged glances. "Why now?" one asked. The ambassador looked directly at Jinho. "Because of what happened at Sentinel-9. Because 12 humans destroyed a fleet that should have been invincible. Because we do not wish to learn what your strong outposts are capable of." The room was silent. Then Minji, standing next to Jinho, spoke up. "Our strong outposts? This was our weakest position. This was a station you considered too insignificant to destroy." The ambassador's translator made a sound that might have been a sigh. "That is precisely why we wish for peace. If your weakest position can do